mean, you should just do this in general. And I think that one of the things that AI can't do is it can't, but I think that professionals are actually, I mean, I'm not saying all of them, but like, I think the really creative ones understand that. Like, I just get the sound to a point where I feel like it's got good dynamics, good EQ. You can have something cheap, you can have something fast, and you can have something good. Those three things. But you can only pick two. But I think that something more powerful comes out of mutual creativity.
Hi there, if you want to learn how to create sound effects, then you are in the right place. In this video, I'll be doing a virtual sit-down chat conversation with the co-founder of SoundMorph, Jason Cushing. So in this video, it's going to be quite a bit longer. We're going to cover a lot of different topics, including a little bit about his background and how he got into sound design and into a bit of his career. Also a little bit about gear. We'll also talk obviously about sound design and creating sound effects. And I also wanted to ask him specifically about AI and how he is right now using AI in kind of his workflow, but also how he's thinking about AI in the future and how he's maybe planning or preparing to be using that and adapting to that in the future. So with that said, this video is going to be, like I said, quite a bit longer. So I'll make sure to have chapter markers down below, as many as I can put that makes sense. And also, before we get right into it, if you are looking at purchasing a sound library from SoundMorph, make sure you use the code DAVID at checkout. That's DAVID at checkout, and it'll get you 20% off your entire order. All right, so with that said, here's my conversation with Jason Cushing.
All right. Hey, nice to see you. So you are in Ottawa.
I'm in Ottawa, and you are you
I
in LA?
am in Bellingham, Washington.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Canada's favorite, the US.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let's not make this a political video right away.
No, we're not going to do that. I'm just
Yes.
I don't even watch the news, so I know things happen. Things are happening. I just choose to live where I am right now.
I am in a very similar situation. I do the exact same as you. Is like,
Yeah.
I know stuff is out there, but I'd rather just focus on my work and do what I like to do and leave
Yes.
the rest out there to the people who deal with that kind of stuff.
Totally.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
so I grew up in the US and I immigrated to Canada when I was well, I moved to Canada when I was 19 for sound engineering, like tech school.
Oh, where did you go to school?
I went to a place called CDIS, which stood for Center for Digital Imaging and Sound in Vancouver, and they don't exist anymore because they were bought by the Art Institute.
Huh.
And then I think the Art Institute of Vancouver is still there, although I have not. It's not the same building that I went to school in, so they went to a whole new facility. So who knows what exists in the school spot that I actually went to. And yeah, I went there when I was 19, and then I moved to New York City, and worked in cartoons for quite a while, doing voice recording, voice engineer, basically, a voice recording engineer, ADR, stuff like that, for like Fox Kids cartoons and things like that.
Oh yeah.
A lot of like major cartoons, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the newer one that they did for a while.
Yeah.
Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, oh man, the list goes like on and on and on.
Oh, so you worked on
So
all of
much
those?
voice recording.
Wow,
And
that's crazy.
but I really wanted to do sound design. Like that's what I wanted to do. So, but I was really good at and fast at doing voice sessions. So it was hard to break out of that. Yeah, I lived in New York for a while. Then I really missed Canada, and so I immigrated to Canada, got citizenship,
Oh,
and
I didn't know that. Okay.
um, moved back to Vancouver, um, and was working for BioWare and Electronic Arts. And so I went to Edmonton and worked at BioWare on the Mass Effect trilogy, and and then when that ended, I was kind of just doing freelance stuff, and I got offered a pretty good position in Montreal doing iOS games for Gameloft, which like is like a factory for iOS games. But they had good licenses. They had like a bunch of relationships with Marvel and DC and Disney. So I was doing like Spider-Man and Batman and um, like big name games, I guess, as far as like
That's pretty cool.
the IPs go. Um,
Yep.
but
Were
I
you doing
was
sound design at that point?
Yeah, I was a sound designer. So I got my first sound design gig was with EA. Um, that I was just very lucky that they hired me because I was a sound effects editor. Like, I had done some stuff just all from libraries, and I really didn't have a mentor or like um I didn't know very much when when BioWare hired me. It was more, I think they just liked me. And I had a friend that had worked at EA for a long time on Skate. So I had done a lot of dialogue editing for Skate. Um, and so I think it was just they liked me because when I went in there, I was so scared. Um, because the guys there were really good sound designers, and I was like, oh, how old was I? Um, Well, I was 27, I guess. Which isn't that young, but at the time, yeah, it was 2007. There wasn't a lot of like sound design, like YouTube didn't even really like hadn't really taken off much yet.
Yeah, that just started. Yeah.
Um, and it was the access to learning and teaching yourself was much more difficult, I think. And I didn't have mentors at the places I had been working at. So like a lot of the stuff that I was doing was just very novice, like I didn't really know how to design UI sounds. Um, and so I learned a lot there for sure. Um,
How did you teach yourself that? Or did you teach yourself that? Did somebody show you?
I think it was a combo of like some teaching from other sound designers there and then just realizing what I didn't know and like deep diving into like, well, I don't know how to make UI sounds. I should teach myself how to do that. And um like now when I look at that, I'm like, making UI sounds is so easy. Like you can just take anything, you can record anything and chop it up and rearrange it and little into little bits, and you've got a UI sound. Whether it's a good one, that
Yeah.
takes a little more effort, I believe. But yeah, so things like that, that when I look back at them, like I was like, trying to make some cool UI sounds for Mass Effect. And I just remember being like, I have no clue how to do this. They're gonna fire me or something. But I think that's one of the things that I learned too is like your personality goes so far in your own um like the way you look at things and the way you interact with people goes so much further than what you know. So
Hmm.
um I just try to like reframe things so that now that I'm older, I don't look at things the same way, but um yeah, it's okay if you don't know stuff, you know? It's all right. You're not going to know everything.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
uh, and if you did, it would be quite boring. You would be a god or something. There would be
Yeah,
nothing
I have
to learn
nothing
and nothing.
nothing new.
Um, so yeah, I'm not scared of not knowing things. If anything, it's more exciting.
I'm really curious to know how you got from working at a studio to deciding to go off on your own and like starting SoundMorph. How did that happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. I I think You know, it reminds me of something uh when something really, bad happens to you or maybe something bad happens to you and you think, "Oh my gosh, this is the worst thing." Um and I've been practicing over the last few years really being mindful of like it seems bad right now, but usually with every bad thing there's a silver lining. So, if I can search for the silver lining, um, there's something there. So um, when I was like 27, I dated this girl who was very, um, this may be too long of a story, but she was very much, she wanted success. Uh, she wanted lots of condos and investment properties, and like was telling me like, you should be an audio director and all, like really pushing me. And at the time, I still like, as I mentioned, how I felt going to BioWare. I felt insecure in my abilities and my skills. And I remember telling her I'm not ready to be an audio director yet. I don't have enough experience. I haven't done enough. Um, but she got me into like, I think more of an entrepreneurial like curiosity. And I remember reading a couple books. So one of them was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is, I mean, I haven't read it for years, but it was all about sort of, your relationship to money and things like that. Um, and then there was another one called 4 Hour Work Week, which was all about how to not work so much. So those were two books I read while I was dating her. Um, and we ended up having a horrible breakup. One, one of the like out of all the people I dated, it was a pretty bad breakup. Um, and but something stuck with me about her drive and desire for because I had never really thought about that stuff. I was just like, um, I wanted to work at a big game company. Like that was my main goal. I need to work at this big game company and then I will have made it.
Yeah.
Um, And so I worked for big game companies and did that for a while. And I just kind of felt like, especially at the iOS game place, which had many wonderful people that I worked with. Um, but the nature of those that especially an iOS game company like that, and they're worldwide. I had never heard of them, but they have studios all over the world. They make a lot of money. Um, but part of that is that it's like get it out, get it out. It was always like crunch, crunch, crunch. Um,
Hmm.
and it always felt like I was behind. It always felt like I was just being creatively kind of crushed a little bit. Um, and so, that idea of starting my own company had been percolating in my head for a while. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then, Boom Library came out. And I remember thinking, wow, this stuff is like stuff that seemed new. It seemed uh like you had your big companies like Sound Ideas and Hollywood Edge that were more old school. Pro sound effects, which I feel has stayed pretty relevant actually. But at the time I thought in my head, well, pro sound effects is like a dinosaur. Um, and that was not a fair assessment. I feel like they're still putting out great stuff. Um, but yeah, I just sort of felt like, hey, this is what I could do. I was at a point finally in my sound design skills that I had ideas of stuff I wanted to make. Um, I felt, and they were still, Boom was still early on in their production of products. So there was a lot of stuff that I thought of, well, I could make something, maybe I could compete. Well, not even compete, but maybe I could make something cool. Um, so that's kind of how it started. And then I spent a year making the first like three products, which was robotic life forms and users of tomorrow, which is UI libraries. So, because I struggled with making UI stuff, I was like, people might probably would like this, and which
Yeah.
was true. It was a pretty big hit at the time. Now there's a lot of UI libraries out there, but anyways, spent a year developing the site and some products, and just thought like, well, I'll make um, some extra money. Not really knowing how it was going to go. And then, uh, I got on LinkedIn and I started adding every sound person I could find. And I started bugging them and telling them about SoundMorph. And yeah, just check it out. It was like total spam blast. Like, I would like replace the first name, like, hey Bob, Jason here, just started this site. And most people were like, cool, I'll check it out. And then there was a few like, do not bother me again. Um, but
That's
it,
funny.
it, it like, I don't know if that was, I mean, I think it was probably a combination of things, but that kind of got the ball rolling a little bit. And the first day that we were live, we sold like we had a bundle for 299, which was like all three of the products. Somebody bought that and I was like, oh, like I couldn't, I had never sold anything before. So to me, that
Yeah.
was like, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope they like it. And like, really nervous. Um, and then it just kind of went from there. That was 2013. So it's been 12 years now.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So did you make a jump from like full time to SoundMorph, or was there like a transition period where you were kind of still working full time and then doing this on the side?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's something that I like would definitely recommend to anyone thinking about. I mean, you should just do this in general for if you're working at a job and you want to have your own thing. Um, it's very wise to proof of concept before you're like, I'm quitting and I'm starting my food
Yeah.
truck. Um, because you don't know if that food truck's going to do well yet.
Yeah.
So we my partner, so I had the idea to start the site. And I started making it with a guy who worked at Ubisoft. He worked on well, he worked at EA as well, but he worked on Dead Space when it first came out, and I was a big Dead Space fan, and he was like, I can help you make a site. So he helped in the design of the initial first site. And then a guy I worked with at Gameloft was getting really into um, Max MSP. And I was telling him what I was doing, and he was like, I could make a UI synthesizer. So he started making Galactic Assistant. Um, and then we kind of just became partners. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought now.
Yeah, no worries. Well, basically, I was curious to know how long was that transition period? Because like
Right.
I think most people don't realize that you're still either you were like working for a while or did you make a jump? Like I don't think you made a
Yeah.
straight jump for it,
So
right? Like
sorry, I was going off on who my partners are, but
yeah.
the initial question was the transition. Um, Yeah. So, anyways, like we we ran Soundmore for 2 years while we were still working at our game jobs, and it was becoming so popular that I was really burnt out from doing both, and because Soundmorph was doing well, I was much more excited about working on Soundmorph. So, they
Right.
probably should have fired me, but at least like in the last little bit, because I was really sort of checked out from doing, working for them anymore. Um, but yeah, after we had a few years under our belts, we were like, we need to quit our jobs and just focus on Soundmorph. So Jan and I both put in our resignation at the same time. He moved back. He moved out of Montreal to New Brunswick, which is where he's from, and
Oh,
I
cool.
moved to Bellingham, Washington, which is where I'm from. Um, so it allowed us to move back to our hometowns, which I mean, I loved Montreal, but I wanted to buy a house and was at an age where I was like, I want to have a family and
Settle
Montreal.
down.
I was considering Montreal, but it's very cold. I don't know if you know that. You know that.
Yeah.
You're in Ottawa.
Well, I mean, I'm just 2 hours from there, so I know how cold it gets. Yeah.
And then the summer, it's blazing hot, and I'm not French, but I loved the culture and everybody there. Um, but yeah, so just life decisions like, do I stay here and buy a place or do I go somewhere else? And I decided to come back uh, to this area, which is beautiful and north of Seattle and right south of the Canadian border. So
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
Hour away from Vancouver, so that's nice.
Cool. Yeah. How has the how has like SoundMorph changed from like when it got started? So like what I've seen, like I've only been doing sound design stuff for like I don't know 7 years or something, 8 years, whatever. But like not all of it has been like full time. Most of it has been part time. But like I've seen a big boost or boom in like um, independent like sound library creators and like asoundeffect.com, which like has a ton of like different like sound libraries which didn't
Yeah,
exist before.
right.
So it's like how has or maybe you haven't had to adapt, but have you had to adapt to that, and have you changed at all, or how have you seen kind of the industry move
Yeah.
from when you got started?
Um, yeah, I mean it's grown like crazy since Boom and SoundMorph started. I mean, I think SoundMorph started a couple years after Boom. I think Boom started in 2010, so we started in 2013, so it's more like 3 years. Um, yeah, there wasn't much, So uh, as far as sort of I would say the new wave of some of the sound design or focused companies. Um, there was Boom and us, and Tonestorm had been around for a little bit already, and they've grown really great as well.
Yeah,
Krotos had not they had Dehumanizer when we launched, but they didn't really have much of a company. Um, and then the indie, I guess, individuals, um, and A Sound Effect was just doing um, articles really, when they started. They weren't selling anything. I think Asbjorn, who owns, forgive me if I'm not saying your name right. Um, those Danish names are tricky. Um, yeah, I think he was really smart in the sense of building a community first and then monetizing it. Um, because I just built SoundMorph and then was like, hey, everybody come look, which worked. But he was like, I'm gonna build this whole community, get everyone like interested in what articles I put out and interviews with different things and da 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 da. And then I'm going to um monetize it. I mean, I don't know exactly how he did it, but like that I think that was wise because he's really built like something um that people seem to like.
yeah,
Um and it's totally different than what I do at SoundMorph. I don't think I would want to run a sound effect. It's just not really my thing, but I give them kudos for all the success that they've had, and they've really helped SoundMorph out along the way as well. Um, so now all those people submitting stuff to that, I mean, I think my only hesitation with that model was that um, it leaves a lot of room for mediocre things to get into the marketplace. And I don't know how much quality control they do. Like if they're just like, give us anything you got, or if they're like, no, no, that's not good enough. Um, I think they're more on the side of give us anything you've got, but that
hmm
might not be a fair assessment. And I don't want to say, it's to everybody else to decide whether a specific product they come across is valuable to them or not. Um,
yeah,
as a professional, I think sometimes, having everything there is good in a sense that you might be looking for something very specific.
yeah,
So that's good. On the flip side, I would say that it might be bad because you're just going through a lot of stuff that you're like, this isn't really good enough, or yeah. So for me, I wanted SoundMorph to be just like only good stuff. So, I mean, I
yeah.
think
Fair
everybody
enough.
wants that people aren't making stuff like, I don't think people put out stuff thinking it sucks or it's not good enough or whatever. I think they put their time and effort into it, so they like it. Um, but yeah, that's just my philosophy on it is that there's maybe a little too there's the marketplace is flooded for sure.
Yeah,
Um, So yeah,
Especially in the past few years, I feel like it's a lot. But there's an interesting thing that happens too, is like, yeah, it's flooded, but then you also like sift out, um, well, I don't know. I'd be like, I think the idea would be like you sift out the bad ones by people like leaving comments and reviews, right? So
yeah,
like that's the kind of the judge right there is like if people leave a comment or review, then you know if it's good or not, and then that company kind of goes off to the side, and then you're kind of just left with the stuff that's good. But at
yeah.
the same time, it's like there's so much. I don't know if there's enough people buying from there to be able to do that with the amount of demand, or yeah, the demand and the like what's actually provided. I don't know if it's even, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that if something's good, it naturally tracks. Like it naturally gets traction in the community because people start talking about it. Um, so if something's really good, I think usually you will hear from I mean, if you're connected with other sound designers
Yeah,
talking about this stuff,
yeah,
then you'll usually hear about something that's, special or whatnot.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, we haven't really, I wouldn't say I have adjusted anything other than, uh, yeah, I mean, I just keep trying to focus on like how can I make something that's as good as it can be in my opinion, uh, for what we're putting out. Um, and there's certain products that I would say or collections that are more of a hit um, for so many reasons. Um, sometimes something's just born at the right time, you know? Um, and I think that's part of what makes a company successful is tapping into or an individual is tapping into what hasn't been born yet that might need to exist. Um, and why. And that takes a lot of practice and patience and um, sometimes you try something and it really doesn't do as well as something else. Um, my concern is not that usually. It's more how can I make this product as good as I think it can be? Um, and the rest of it doesn't matter really. Like, of course you want success, and of course you need money to survive, and like you desire as a social human for people to like what you produce. I think those are basic fundamental things that humans have. But I also think what really matters is what you think about it. So I don't really pay attention too much to I mean, I respect people and their opinions, but I'm not letting that drive me fully. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
need
It's
to drive
like,
it myself.
yeah,
So
you have to
I
have,
have to believe in it.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. It has to matter for you, right? For like what project you're going to work on. You have to have some kind of skin in the, well, not just skin in the game, but like you have to have some reason for wanting to do it, right? Like,
yes, yeah. And I mean, I've gotten into ones where I'm like, oh no, why did I why did I get so deep into this? Um, but it's already happening, so I just go with the flow, you know? Um, but yeah, I think these are things, and I'm always like we're all a work in progress. Like I don't have all the answers, and I think that's okay. Um, like the past me saw things differently than the present me, and the past me cared more and was more insecure about what everyone else thought, and the the present me still cares. I very deeply care about my customers and giving them a great product, but I'm more confident in the sense that like if I know I've done my best and I really believe in what I put out, nothing else really matters. It could be a total flop, but I did my best. I tried, you know.
yeah.
Um, and
How do
I haven't really had any total flops anyways. So,
you,
uh,
that's good.
yeah,
How do you
yeah.
how do you go about like choosing what you're going to do next, like what your next project's going to be or your next library or whatever?
Yeah, that's kind of changed over the years. I mean, I'm always kind of trying to think of like what isn't out there that that might need to be out there or would be interesting? Um, or what would I like to have that I don't have? Um, and what's funny about that, I was talking about things being born or creativity coming from something coming from nothing, is that I think the more that I pay attention to that, it's interesting because I can't tell you how many times I've been really thinking about making something and then it appears in the marketplace. Like Boom will make it or somebody else will make it. And I'm like, damn it. Um,
That's funny.
I mean, it's happened a lot, and vice versa. Like we make something, and then they come out with something pretty similar shortly after. And it'd be easy to be like, oh, they copied me. But I think it's not just that. I mean, sometimes it might be that, um, but I think it's also that when you're really tapping into your creativity and what's out there, it's interesting because pe people have the similar ideas come at the same time. Um, and I think it's the same as like music trends or it's like a wave. The wave comes and you either get on it or you don't. And I think that that's kind of what happens with creating sound design and libraries and things like that too, is that it's not a coincidence that Boom just put out a Thunder library and I have been making a Thunder library for quite a while. We haven't put it out yet, so spoiler alert, there's a Thunder library coming.
Heard it
Um,
first here.
but it's different than theirs, so it's okay. But initially, it's actually quite different than theirs. Um, but yeah, initially I was like, damn it. Because you don't really want something like you've been working on for a long time, something else comes out that's pretty similar. Um, you just don't really want that. They compete with each other, and
Right.
so, but it's also kind of just funny.
Yeah, it's so strange that it happens that way. Have you worked at all with any kind of this kind of shifting the conversation a little
Yeah,
bit here with
sure.
like AI tools and like yeah, just like I'm really curious. Like, obviously, everyone's gonna likes to bring up AI and how like, oh, it's the end of the creator, end of people who are creative, and it's gonna replace you. I don't think that's actually true. But
Hmm.
I'm curious to know like, how are you using AI? Are you using AI? How are you using it? And then like, where do you see it going? And like, how do you see yourself like adapting to it in the
Yeah,
future?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's something that's on everybody's mind lately. It's kind of inescapable because it's clearly like a revolutionary thing for the last few years. Yeah, I think if you divide it into time, like anything's possible, really. So, um, we're at the beginning stages. Yeah, I've thought about it a lot. I think at some point there will be stuff that is really like completely, it's already happening, completely produced like, film and sound and everything in there. But like, is it that good? That's debatable. Um, and I think that one of the things that AI can't do is it can't replace you. It can't be you. So each person has their own unique life experiences and circumstances and events that have happened to them from birth till now. So you've had your whole life, and I've had my whole life. And we also have completely different DNA, and we interpret things differently. And that's what makes us special. So I don't think that can be replaced by AI. I don't think that it can I don't think it can interpret emotional experiences quite the same way as we do. Um, and that's a key part of sound. Like you can like there's going to be stuff that generates sound effects, right? Like it does with music and stuff like that. Um, and maybe it can pump out a lot of interesting sounding stuff, but it it's not the same as somebody really connecting with um the usage of the sound and like the emotional impact of it and um why one sound is picked over another. I mean, it can analyze those things, I think, a little bit, but I think you still need to have critical listening and creative skills and understand storytelling and emotions deeply to make sound impactful. So that's something that's I think is still a ways away for AI. Um, but I don't think it's impossible either. So in the short term, 5, 10 years, I think there's going to be tons of tools that come out that aid in creation, but don't necessarily replace sound designers. Um, but yeah, it's a real fear, I think, for people, especially like, I myself, like I've dedicated my life to this craft and being creative, and it's sort of like an existential thing, like, oh no, is all my life's work doesn't mean anything now? That's not true. I mean, it's just not. Um, and if anything, I aided in thousands of files created for the robots to use. So, um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I think you have to adjust with the times. If you close your eyes for too long, you become a blockbuster, or whatever else you can think of. So it's always good to adapt if you can. I mean, am I gonna like start using the hot word in all of our products now? No. Um, but are there maybe some opportunities for SoundMorph to grow with this new way of being? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We're still making software and making sound libraries, and they're still selling. If it comes to a point where I'm really like, oh my gosh, it's not anymore, well, I'll have to reassess at that point, I suppose. But there's a lot of cool ways to use AI. I mean, I use ChatGPT all the time. Um, I mean, probably more than the average user. Uh, just because I find it to be really fascinating. I mean, I think most people do, but I use it for, personal therapy, personal problems. I have a 3-year-old, I have a 1 month old. Um,
Nice.
so a
Congrats,
lot
by
of
the way.
changes for me in my life, family life, and dynamics and challenges around that. So, I mean, it's amazing to just be like, hey, my preschooler's like, um, throwing a fit when she doesn't get a popsicle. What should I do? You know, stuff like that. Um, and so like I view it as like the beginning of a merge of technology and biology. And that's what's happening, I think. And where that will go exactly, I don't know. At some point, they will offer a chip into our head. I don't know if I'm going to do it. But then my daughters will probably be like, "Oh, Dad, just get the damn chips so that we can like stop, you can stop asking where we have to go next." You know. I mean, I can definitely see something like that. I mean, that's kind of where it's going, and it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how that affects education and curriculum and all sorts of different fields. I mean,
Yeah.
I think of stuff like my mom's 82 and she's always asking me for help with stuff. And I mean, she had computers growing up, but seems to be just, I can't figure anything out. And I'm always like, well, just ask Google. Oh, yeah, Google, right? And now I feel like it's shifting to definitely for me for ChatGPT. I mean, I use Google to maybe find some stuff in a site or whatever, but um, as far as like learning new things, it's an invaluable
ChatGPT, eh?
resource. I
Yeah.
use it for gardening. I use it for uh, anything you can think of, really. Um, but yeah, I mean, even for teaching yourself sound design, like if you were like, I mean, these tools did not exist when we were growing up. So if you were wanting to, I don't know, learn more about so how can I become a better sound designer? You can just ask it that, and
Yeah.
it'll tell you. I mean, I think it's always preferred to have human connections and mentors are going to be more valuable than that probably, but it's another way for you to teach yourself. So I don't know. It's definitely a rabbit hole that can spend a lot of time.
That's very funny. Actually, I use it a lot for like I don't know if you do this, but like for metadata in like libraries and stuff like that. Do
Hmm.
you use it for anything like
I
that for like
haven't. No,
sound
I
stuff?
mean, we've transitioned all of our libraries to UCS. It's not USC, it's UCS, right? Yeah.
UCS. Yeah.
I always get that confused.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, and I think they have some of their own keywords and stuff. We usually add some, but yeah, that's a good way to use it for sure. Um I think for organization and uh for things like newsletters, like I've been using it a lot for newsletters. I mean, that stuff is very time consuming to write a good one, and it always does a better job than me. Um but I will take that and I will alter it to my own voice because I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
feel like that's a little too lazy to just blast that out and
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
it's not
I think
me
people will be
really.
able to tell. Yeah.
And yeah, I think people can tell. And it's good to save time, but I don't think people really want to connect with a robot. They want to connect with you.
Yeah.
So, um, so I do use it to craft stuff and then I tweak it from there. But that's probably what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even coding stuff for like, so we just recently moved our whole site to the Shopify platform. And
Nice.
previously we had like a custom backend, but what was very limited, but well, in some ways. Um, so I mean, it's amazing to do stuff like coding. I mean, I can tell it I want to put this in this like a custom SoundCloud player on my site, but I want it to be like this with a drop shadow and blah blah blah, and it'll just spit out the code, and I plug it in, and it works. And then I go, oh, I don't like this or that about it, and oh, here's a new list of code. It's just amazing, like stuff like that. I you know
Yeah,
so
yeah. So like anything marketing, life stuff. Do you use it though specifically for like audio related tasks or like sound design stuff at all?
mm, I mean, not too much really because I've been in sound design for so long, but I I've asked it to tell me about like what are some popular things in sound design lately, or what's a new what's your favorite, like you were asking me some of the tools that I use, and I mean I have a list of them, but then I was also like, well, I haven't looked like what's some of the new stuff that's come out in the last little bit, and it gave me some great idea, and I was like, oh great, I'm gonna check those out, those sound awesome. So stuff like that, and running a company, I've had less and less time um to explore some of the new stuff out there. So um, things like that, it's amazing, like it gets me excited about um, yeah, just learning new stuff.
Yeah,
So,
that's cool.
but yeah, as
For
far as audio goes, I'm trying to think of what are there. I mean, sometimes maybe, because it knows me pretty well because I've talked to it so much now. Um, it's interesting. It'll give me idea, if I was going to make a library, what library would I make?
and it
Um,
gives you ideas for that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's, not always good, but kind of
That's
interesting.
funny.
Yeah.
For like people who are like starting out in sound design, like yeah, people who are just starting out, they're just getting their feet wet. What opportunities do you see for them that maybe didn't exist before that are like and that will very be maybe they're not so super prominent right now, but like in 5 years, 10 years, they'll be like maybe that's what you want to focus on. Like if you were gonna like advise someone on like, yeah, if you're gonna become a sound designer, like look here because this is where the industry is going, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what would that be?
I mean, I think that immersive audio stuff, um, VR stuff, spatial audio would be stuff to like definitely is some of the newer areas to look into. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, if you got a master's in AI, that would probably help you a lot. Um, so I'm, but that's not something that everybody can do. Uh, and it all kind of depends on like what part of audio you want to be doing sound design for. Um, I don't always know what the current landscape's like out there because I've been, I worked in the game industry a lot and I had a team of people around me telling me lots of things. And now um I have a team, but like we're all in different parts of the world and yeah, we share some knowledge, but it's always good to be connected with other people to learn like what trends are happening right now or is there I know that a lot of people got laid off in games and in film. Um, but that those are always like, that stuff happens and then it comes back, you know. So I think teaching yourself the tools of whatever area you want to be in. So if you want to be in games, you should definitely learn Unreal. You can get the Unreal editor and start teaching yourself. Um, and Wise. Um, any of the major tools that you need to know to work at those places, if you don't know them, uh, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Um, Even if you haven't worked at a game studio before, if you can really, build up your chops in learning Unreal and understanding how interactive audio works, then you're going to have a leg up on, somebody that doesn't really. But I think that um, trends in technology and all that stuff is always going to change. It's just a willingness to be open to teaching yourself, learning, trying to find a mentor, somebody that you respect that will show you more. So making a personal relationship with somebody. Bugging is hopefully not what you have to do, but like being relentless in that search. So I wish I had done more of that when I was younger. Uh, because like I don't know. I mean, it's not like I haven't done well and learned new things, and SoundMorph's been successful. Um, but I struggled in the beginning because I really didn't know that much. So I had to like, and not that it's bad. I taught myself a lot of stuff, but um, I just think it's invaluable to have somebody that's been doing it for years um, to uh, to ask questions to and to like be around because they just have that experience, that you don't have as many years as they do. Doesn't mean you're less valuable or less good at what you do. It's just they just done it longer. So I think that that's like it's like hanging out with old people. Um, there might be some things that are that are old as far as perspectives go, but they have been around for a long time. So they have value if you look for it. So, and I think that that's definitely true with learning something new if you're a younger sound designer just starting out is to make a personal relationship with somebody older, more experienced that can teach you something. Um,
Yeah. One
so
of
yeah.
the one of the things that I often get is exactly that. Like people, like sometimes I'll usually post like polls on like my YouTube channel and ask people like one of the things I've asked is like, what holds you back from improving your sound design skills? And like one of the things that often comes up is like, working alone and not getting feedback and
Mhm.
not knowing what to do or what to focus on or where to put your attention and your effort, right? So like what would you say for like people who are in that boat? Because a lot of people are like every time I ask that kind of question, and even when I just talk to like one-on-one to people, it's like people are asking like where can I get that kind of mentorship or whatever, and like how can I go about doing that, or like where do I put my time? How do I get better? Where do I start? Like that kind of those kinds of questions. Like what would you say to someone who's in that kind of position?
Yeah, I mean, find somebody you respect and start messaging them. If they say no, find someone else. I mean, that's really the answer. There's no, it's pretty simple, really. I think it seems like it's not, but it means that you have to put in some effort. Like that person is not going to just, I mean, unless you're really lucky, they're not just going to poof appear and be like, hey, let me show you everything great about sound design. You've got to have that passion to begin with.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that passion, then maybe you need to re-examine what you're doing and why. But um, but yeah, I know when you're starting off, you're just like, what should I do? I would say that that's what you need to do. And also, you know, look up what are the fundamentals of sound design and start doing those things. So one of the things I would say is uh, buying a recorder. So, you know, if you don't own a field recorder, you can get you can get an H1N, a Zoom, which is okay. It's decent enough for $100, and uh and go start recording stuff. Record tons of stuff. And I mean, I think that in my view, every sound designer should own a field recorder. Every sound designer should take time to understand how to record sounds and what happens when you put the mic here and what happens when you put it there, and be into exploring and failing and having successes too. Because if you're not failing, you're not learning. So it's okay to fail. Just get out there and fail and fail and fail, and you're going to learn something new. And then it's okay. I mean, fail is it's a negative sounding word, but um, I mean, I guess it could be interpreted in different ways. But uh, yeah, I mean, I had a lot of frustrating, you know, maybe more so with music, but I think with sounds too, you know, sometimes would think that I got really good stuff and then come back and it just sounds flat and it sounds um, not bigger than life like I thought it did. Um, and that's just a way to learn. Like if it's not sounding how I wanted it to, as a source recording, um, well, I need to try something else. So it just means that you have to try again. Um, and that's okay. So getting comfortable with doing something, not liking it, and trying again. Um, but yeah, I think the fundamentals of sound design, I mean, there's lots of different ones, but getting a recorder would be a good start. Um, Understanding synthesis and routing and modulation, and how one thing affects another. I think that that's obviously pretty important for sound design. If you want to be able to sculpt and manipulate sounds the way you're thinking of them in your head or the way you hear something else be done, um, you have to understand the basics of a sine wave and like, you know, uh, you have to understand the basics of how sound works and interacts with each other. Um, and the more that you dive into that, the more that you're going to be able to make the things that you think in your head. Um, because until you can make those connections with the skills, it's just something in your head. So um, that takes experimentation and practice. Um, and that can be frustrating. I
Yep.
mean,
I
nobody wants
can
to make
I can agree with
shitty
that.
or like, well, nobody wants to make something that they're like, this isn't very good. So, but it's
Except every
also a
time
way
you're
to learn.
starting out, that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've made so much stuff that I don't think sounds good. And I've made so many music tracks that I would, you know, I'm just messing around. Like it's okay. Nobody needs to hear it except for me. Um,
Yep.
so there's not really I mean, failure might be the wrong word. I'm trying to think of a different one, but experimentation is okay. And it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be um it doesn't have to be something that you release. It's all part of your journey of doing what you're doing. So, I mean, I've had a lot of times of frustration in the past and sometimes still, but um, but I really try to just enjoy whatever I'm doing that day. Like, what a miracle to be alive, to have ears and eyes, to taste food, to see things, to hear things, to smell a flower, to hear a bird fly by. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. And when I can be present with that stuff, that's when the magic can happen. And when I'm just grumbling about how something didn't go the way I wanted it to, I'm lost. So I'm just lost in that thought of disappointment, and
Yeah.
rather than just being connected to where I am and what I'm doing. And if my body's feeling tired and frustrated, which can happen, um, then maybe it's time to take a break.
Do you often take breaks?
Not as much as I should.
How much is that? I'm
I mean, I
curious because
think,
I try to take at least one break. I'm trying to think. Like I take one break for lunch, and then normally I'll take a break if I really realize I start to feel like I'm like way gone. Like my
yeah,
head feels fried, and I can't focus anymore. Then I'll just get out. Like I know I have to get
yeah.
out. But if not, then I won't take a break either. Like so I don't know. I'm curious to know like how many you take.
I um I don't take as many as I feel my body requires. And I think it's pretty simple reason. Like when you're doing something that you love, um, or just something that you're engaged with, you might not even love it, but something that you're engaged with, you enter into another realm, a different time realm.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that definitely happens. Like if I'm into whatever, I mean, sometimes it takes me a while to get into a project. There's times where I start something and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm not feeling it, and I'm grumpy or whatever. Um, but when I actually get into it, um, you know, I woke up feeling rested and um, that never happens anymore, but sometimes.
With the
Uh,
baby, no.
yeah, with a newborn and a 3-year-old, rested is subjective.
Yeah.
But when things are feeling creatively optimal, I can get very lost in that, and I will get to a point where um, I haven't drank enough water, I haven't eaten food, and I've got a headache, my eyes hurt. I'm kind of like, oh, that's not where you want to get to. Um, so. I really, over the last several years, been trying to be much more mindful of how much screen time, how much time I'm spending in front of the screen and not moving my body. Because, yeah, sound design's fun, and all these plugins and stuff, um, but you got to take care of yourself, at least in my view. So I just pay attention. Am I hydrated enough? Have I stretched? Have I moved my body around? Have I exercised today? Have I gone out and talked to somebody? Um, ask yourself, just take a break every once in a while and check in with yourself. And that's what I try to do. But I'm not, it's a practice. It's not perfection.
Okay. So it's not like you're taking a break every hour or every like 2 hours, three
No,
hours or something like that. It's just like
no.
when
I
you
mean, I
feel
think
it, you
some
go.
people maybe set timers like, oh, it's break time.
Yeah.
Um, that's just not how, I don't know if creativity really works like that, but because if you're
No,
really
I would
into
agree with that.
something, you're probably going to just keep doing it.
Yeah,
But,
you don't want to stop.
but yeah, I mean, I think that it's all connected. Like if you're not doing well, um, likely your output's going to suffer. You know, there are arguments against that. Kurt Cobain was a heroin addict. Like, he wasn't taking care of himself, but he was still making amazing music. So I don't know how they do. I don't know how certain people abuse the hell out of themselves and are able to still make the stuff they do. I mean, I'm talking about maybe more like, some debaucherous rock stars or something.
Yep.
But for me,
Um,
I need to be like I need to be doing well.
yeah.
So yeah, I try to sleep and eat well. Um, I I I try to exercise regularly, stretch, um, and do something else that isn't sound. You know, I get out in nature a lot. Um, yeah, I try to live a multi um, faceted lifestyle. So, I mean, or sound design and sound morph is very much wrapped up in uh, my like work identity. Um, but there's more to life than just that. So yeah, I try to just
It's good.
balance it
It's
around a different area.
balanced life.
Yeah, I try. I try.
There you go. Nice. Um, I think it was 2, 3 years ago I had connected with you, and one of the things like connecting back to what you had mentioned, what you had said before is like one of the things I had asked you was like, like what's like most important thing that like one thing that like a sound designer should focus on and become like really good at to become
Mm.
a better sound designer. And you had said something like, record your sound, like record sounds, bring them into your DAW and make it sound good. Like if you can like master that, like record, edit, and make it sound good, like you're good to go for sound design. Like you'll be able to do whatever. So, um, but the reason I'm bringing that up is because I see right behind you. I don't think that's a decoration right there, but I'm really
Oh,
curious to know like
yes.
what do you use for recording sound effects
Hmm.
right now?
Yeah, well,
Like what's
that's
your setup?
my main one, and like so it sound just a little preface on this is like um SoundMorph is a smaller operation. Like it's me, my partner, and some contract sound designers that work with us sometimes. So we don't have like a huge team. We don't have like a huge mic locker. We don't do a lot of like or any really like large multi-channel recording sessions like gun. We've done some gun stuff, but it was in collaboration with Charles Maines. So like when he was recording those, they probably had tons of mics everywhere, distant mics, close-up mics, and
Yeah.
I mean you're talking about lots of expensive mics. So I've always and I think that's cool. I mean I just don't think I enjoy those sessions as much. I like to run and gun. Um, I like to design sounds. Um, so I like a minimal setup pretty much. Um, but yeah, I got some stuff here to show, and I've shown this stuff over the years, so some of your viewers might have seen it already, um, but yeah, it's fun to show anyways. So this is uh this is the Schweppes. Sorry, I was told recently that I've been saying that name very incorrectly for a long time. It's Schopes, everybody.
Oh, that's good to know.
Schopes,
I
not
did not know
Schweppes.
that.
I don't know why I was calling it. Sounds like a soft drink. I was calling it Schweppes for many years, and then some online troll, God bless them, corrected me.
Watch like the owners reach back out to you and be like, actually.
Actually, um, yeah, Schweppes, if you're watching this, I'm open for sponsorship now. Anyways, yeah, in the last couple of years, I got into, the Zoom F3 came out, which I think is awesome for the price.
Yeah,
Great. So I got into
that's cool.
a more like I used to have a Sony D100, which is a totally different setup. That's more portable than this. But I just felt like I had too much stuff. So I've narrowed it down to mostly using this. Um, and I got into these like clips and stuff. Uh, so I can remove the whole thing off the stand easily. And there's probably been other people that have kind of setups that they've shown similar to this now. At the time I thought like, oh wow, I've got this setup that nobody's ever seen before. Um, and it's so amazing because it's just all on the handle. But anyway, like so this is my main run and gun into the Zoom. It's got this like it's from Small Rig is camera equipment company.
Yep.
They're great. So I got
Cool.
that little Small Rig adjustable ball thing that can twirl all around in different directions. And then it also clips off easily too. So that's pretty handy. Um,
What
this
is that attachment?
the which one?
For the one that's attached to your F3 there,
Yeah, so this is all
it's like a quick release or something
a
like that?
quick release, like little
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
thing.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
And then the
Yeah.
double ball joint is nice because you can spin it in every different direction. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you just need to adjust it, you know?
Yeah.
And then I've got the little clip on the back of the Zoom, so it just like pops right on there, which is definitely really handy. It's also nice for breaking it down, like because I use like usually when I go out, I use a backpacking backpack, like for alpine backpacking. Um, and I'll depending on how sometimes I leave it all together, but sometimes I piece it out. But it's nice because I can take all this off pretty quickly. Now the grip is off. This is pretty compact now, sort of. Um, then I just have a Rycote, what is it, Cyclone blimp, uh, which I really don't need to open this very often. I mean, it's you can if you want to peek in and see like, oh, my beautiful mics. But I don't I don't really find that I need too much. And sometimes, you can adjust these within here to be XY or RTF, I think. Um, yeah, I believe
So
so.
what is that? Is that like a mid-side setup that you have then?
No, this is just XY. So this
Oh
is
yeah.
a Schoeps CCM4. It's the more compact ones, so they're pretty small. Um, and yeah, I just really find like I really love the sound of these mics, especially for nature stuff, and the high end just sounds really natural to my ears. The thing that I mean, the caveat is that like this shit's expensive,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
expensive. So like for the average person, I even if you're working in a game studio, and I don't know, I mean, the game studio probably has their own mics, probably, but I don't know if everyone needs this. Like, I'm selling sound libraries, so I want to have really nice mics. But I think there's other stuff out there that also sounds great that isn't, this setup's probably like $5,000 just for, the blimp and the mics. Um, that's not necessarily affordable for everybody out there. But this is my main run and gun for the last um I guess the last like 3 years or so. And then the stand I have is a Manfrotto nano pole. So this is like carbon fiber. It's really light. It's good for traveling. Folds up into this. But what's also cool about it is that you can extend it quite a lot upwards, but it also releases out into a pole. So if you were like trying to do something that was more boomy, uh,
Hmm.
or
That's
boom
cool.
operator style,
Yeah.
um, you can do that. I haven't used needed to do that too much. I mean, I've held it out over some water a few times, I think, but typically I haven't done the pole action that much.
You
Um,
just hold it in your hands.
Yeah, it's a great setup. I did all of Rainscapes. I think that was released a year or two ago. Um, I really enjoyed doing the like rain is one of my favorites, just nature sounds. Um, and so it was fun to try to go out and just capture a bunch of different rain. And with that mic, I felt like it sounded really good. Um, I have the Sanken. I use fairly often. I don't know most people know about this mic, the Sanken CO 100K. Um, Real quick, if you're not familiar, it records very high frequency, uh, 192. I don't know, I don't have the spec sheet, but it records really high frequencies, and you can shift them down while maintaining more fidelity. So it's great for creatures, for um, all sorts of stuff, really. I mean, anything that you want to pitch and manipulate, it's pretty cool for sound design purposes. Um, and then I have the Neumann TLM 170. This is a what is it? Transistorless capacitor or whatever. I'm like
I
brain
have no idea.
on all the technical terms, of course. Um, but yeah, this mic is great. It has different polar patterns on the back. Um, and I really like this. It's very transparent, so like a U87 is similar, but a little more, I guess maybe a little more mid bass. It's a little more colored. This is very flat, Mike. So it's really good for Foley. It can handle really high SPL. Um, and I like using it. I've used it for all my voice stuff for SoundMorph. So like for tutorials, for previews or video, some video stuff, narration. Um, and yeah, also not a cheap one though. I mean, this is like I think you can find it used probably for somewhat cheap, but it's like 3 grand new. Um, but I just can't let go of any these three mics. I use so much, and then also the one I'm using right now, the Schoeps CMI T5. Um, I did a lot of research, like when I was going to buy I used to have um, a Rhodes NTG3 when I was
Yeah.
starting off. Um, and those are great mics, by the way. If you want more of a budget shotgun mic, the NTG3 I think is great. Um, I mean, a lot of people like the 416. And then there was one other one in contention. I can't remember. But I did a lot of research on getting a new shotgun, and um, the differences were pretty small. I mean, I think nowadays like there's so much good mics out there that you can actually get really amazing recordings out of cheaper mics. Um, However, to my ear, I felt like the Schoeps was the most natural. Um, I liked how it sounded on voice and sound effects. So that's what I went for. I don't know if it was the price tag making me think I was getting something better, but I do really like it. So those are my four main mics that I use all the time, um, for different purposes, and I don't even know if you need that many, really. I mean, you can do a
Yeah.
lot with just a handheld recorder, but like if I was going to do a professional voiceover, I don't think I would use a handheld recorder. You need the large diaphragm.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you
So
ever like mix your microphones together?
I
Like if you're
have,
gonna record something, like have multiple mics to record the same thing?
yeah. I mean, so the last library that I put out, the Toyd library, I
Yeah.
I unintentionally did this, and it's probably like if you're into the technical side of audio, you might want to turn this off right now. Um, but yeah, I had um the shotgun and the Schoeps recording stuff at the same time. Because I knew I wanted to like pitch stuff, but I also wanted to have uh um shotgun stuff in there because there's some slight noises in my studio and stuff here. So I was trying to, just make sure that I wasn't picking up that stuff. And I think the Shops is pretty good for Foley type things as well. Um, but yeah, I ended up actually um making stereo files with the shotgun mic and the Sanken is an Omni mic. So that's kind of like frowned upon, usually. But you have two different mics, two different polar patterns, and you're making it a stereo file. Um, but I liked it. I liked how it sounded, for some stuff. Not for everything, but for some things. So with that, there's some stereo files. I wasn't intending to include them. I was just gonna, here's the Sanken stuff, here's the shotgun stuff. Um, but I ended up, there was some stuff I was designing, where I was like, well, I actually kind of like the stereo stuff that's going on here, so I'm gonna use it. Yeah,
That's
I
funny,
mean,
and that
most people
worked.
like to use matched mics for, uh,
Yeah, which makes sense.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was just curious to know if like you ever do like multi-mic recordings, or if you're ever just like, nah, keep it as simple, just record one mic, and then that way it's a lot more simpler when you're like
Yeah,
bringing into your DAW, like it's a lot quicker to edit and to
yeah, I
design with.
don't really unless like, I mean, I think that there's some, um, there's definitely benefits to doing multi-channel. Um, but there's also I mean, I think the downside for me is that it it really kind of kills my spontaneous creativity. Um,
Yeah,
and
that
that's
makes
why
sense.
I have more of a run and gun setup and
Yeah,
simplified setup because I like to just when something's going on, I just do it.
yeah,
When I get too bogged down in setting up, um, by the time it's time to create, I'm like, don't want to
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and it's the same with like, um, I've gotten more into filming myself over the last few years. And it can be like that with that too, because there's sometimes a lot of setup with filming. Um, getting the right angle and the lighting and whatever you're doing. And if I'm the only one filming, because that is sometimes most of the time the case, like I'm somewhere by myself. It's nearly impossible to operate. Well, it is. You can't move around a subject and be the subject at the
yeah,
same time. So, there's times where I like, I'll get all set up with the camera stuff in my studio and I'm kind of worn out or not always, but like I'll set it up and then be like, you know what? I'm gonna do this tomorrow because I don't feel like creating. Because I
yeah. The
spent so
moment
much
just
time setting
goes.
up all this stuff. I'm hot and sweaty and like, now I don't feel like doing it. So I just really try to do stuff when I feel like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. I'm kind of the same way. Like my camera, my microphone, I kind of have a similar like run and gun setup where I just grab my stuff. It's like on a handheld, kind of like you, so I can just go as soon as I want to. Because
yeah,
yeah, I think you're right. Like as soon as you have to start setting stuff up, and then the time goes by, you're just like meh, and like it leaves, and that's it, and then you lose it. So
yeah.
that's cool.
What's your
Um,
what's your setup like as far as like what's your key things that you like to use?
yeah. Well, I'm using it right now as a backup audio, so I can't really show it, but I have
Oh,
I have a F6, so instead of a F3, I have the F6,
yeah.
and then on top of it, I put on a handle,
Hmm.
and then I have the MKH416 on it, so the 416 on it.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
that's like my shotgun. So I just grab the handle and I just go and record whatever. And then for like subtle, more like just easier to carry around, I have the Sony D100, and I just carry that. Like I normally carry that just whenever I go out anywhere. If I'm by
Yeah.
myself and I'm going running errands or whatever, I have that on me, right?
Yeah,
Because I
that's
just
nice.
you never know when something's gonna pop up, or like there's
Yeah.
some cool sound somewhere, and I'm just like I've missed so many cool recording opportunities just because I didn't have it on me, that I just like now I just like nah. I bought myself like a little bag thing to
Yeah.
have on the side, and I just always have it on me.
Yeah, that's a good practice to do. I mean, I've definitely, I mean, the same thing. Like, it's for people that do what we do, it's like the worst feeling when you
Yeah,
come across something really unique and amazing and you have your recording equipment, it like makes me feel sad inside for sure.
Yeah.
And so I don't carry a recorder around with me everywhere. I think because I do it so much, I want separation from it sometimes, um, but I do think that that's a great uh, it's a great habit to be in, especially if you're traveling.
Oh yeah,
If you're
yeah,
going
for
somewhere
sure.
new, I try to.
Yeah,
Um, I try to. I mean, the nice thing about like even this, like, you can you can get just take a mic and like a little blimp on top of it and a small XLR and take it with you. I mean, you
yeah,
could. Um, I mean, maybe not this specific mic, but you know what I mean. Like, um, a handheld's handier. And I mean, the H1N, even though I never owned that one, but it's only $100. And if you don't have a recorder, you really don't have an excuse. Like if you're at all interested in sound design or serious about it, get a damn recorder and go record some stuff.
yeah,
Make your own collections. Like you can, um, you could buy a plugin or you could buy a recorder, but the recorder is something that you can use forever and keep getting more and more content out of. Um,
yeah,
Whereas the plugin's meant to manipulate content that already exists usually. Um, so,
yeah,
and the nice thing about a cheap one like that too is that it's really, I mean, not that $100 is nothing, but if it falls into lava, like you're not gonna. I would cry a lot if the sub setup I had fell into lava. Um, but yeah, you can put it in compromising situations too. So you can throw it into a dumpster, or you could, put it somewhere where you're like, I wouldn't want to put my nice mic there. Well, you can put that one there.
yeah,
Um, so for that, I think it's nice. It's nice to have stuff that you really just can beat the crap out of and not really like, worry too much about it. Uh,
yeah. And then you still get the good content afterwards. You still get the nice recordings.
Yeah. But the D100 is, I mean, I think it's the best handheld that I know of. I mean, I haven't tried that many of them. I had it for quite a long time. I found I wasn't using it as much as I wanted to. And I wanted to upgrade to the Shrubs. I don't know. So I sold it. I kind of regret selling it sometimes, but it's okay. You know, just I can always get it again if I want to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Still out there. There's still some used ones. Actually, I found mine new on eBay somewhere, which is kind of weird because
I'm
they're
surprised
discontinued.
Sony's not still selling them. Are they they're discontinued?
Yeah, they're discontinued, even though like everyone says they're like the best. It's
Dang.
like they're really missing out on something here, but I guess it's just not a priority for them. They probably are making a lot more money elsewhere, but yeah. So for your like studio, do you just record in that room behind you? Do you have a specific place where you record that's like more sound isolated or like
No, I record here and I record out in the wild. I have some home space that's actually really quiet, a basement area that I have treated and that works as well for if I have to be really quiet. I mean, here like I'm in a historical building in downtown Bellingham. Um, and there's some downtown noise outside the windows. It's distant usually. Um, I put up like I'll hang up like some sound blankets and put some foam in the windows sometimes when I'm recording, but that doesn't keep everything out,
no, yeah.
So I wouldn't do super quiet, delicate stuff here, probably. I mean, I would have to like process it after to remove some of the noise. Um, But I'm also like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm okay with a little noise sometimes. Like it just depends on like what it is that you're doing. I mean, you don't want undesirable noise, and most people would say they don't want it at all. But I think that sometimes it's unavoidable, especially if you're out like in a factory or something. Um, and that's when I would usually use shotguns. I don't know. I mean, I usually use XY or a shotgun. Um, Shotgun's definitely helpful for that stuff. But even then, you would pick up room noise or something else, and
Yeah, yeah. That makes
so
sense.
uh, I don't know. I don't get too picky about it. I just try to get good stuff. If I don't feel like it's good enough, then I just don't put it out. But there has been some stuff where like I would say there's been a handful of things that snuck into libraries in the sense that like I knew technically it wasn't maybe optimal, like I would have liked if it hadn't had a noise or something in it, but I liked it enough that I thought, well, I still like it. I still think there's value in having this in the collection. Um, and some people gripe, most people don't. Um, yeah, everyone sees things differently, you know. But I don't want to provide content that people are like, this sucks, or like this has noise in it and it shouldn't. Um, so yeah, I don't want to do that, but but yeah, I don't know. I'm a little looser sometimes about, oh, it's got some noise, and I'm like, yeah. So I mean, can you use it though? I mean, maybe if you can't use it at all, then I guess it's useless. But if it's still got a value to it, then it's still useful. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you find yourself like editing stuff? So like, well, maybe I'll tell you like kind of my process of what I do, and I'm curious to know like what yours is in terms of like editing. But like, so normally like I'll record stuff, I'll do some editing like noise, like some basic noise removal in RX
Mhm.
before I bring it in to start designing. But then once I start designing, what I've noticed, at least for this like sound library that I'm working on right now, is like I finished like adding effects to the sounds and stuff and like whatever compression, saturation, stuff like that. So
Mhm.
like the volumes are boosted quite a bit. And then when I bring it, I always check my sounds one more time before I finish my sound pack. So I bring it back into RX just to double check, make sure everything's good.
Mhm.
And like sometimes I do see like obviously your noise is gonna get boosted up with everything else that's there. And then I see some stuff that I didn't catch when I was first or initially recording. Does that happen to you at all? Like do you ever like edit after you've designed stuff to like remove like little clicks that have like I don't know, come back up after you've designed stuff, even though you can't really hear it or it's not as noticeable, but you know it's still there. Like you can still it's still audible, but it's not annoying, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I mean there has been times where I've designed to, put out final files and then I'll go back and tweak them a little bit. Um, or a colleague will be like, "Hey man, there's a little bit of noise in there. Do you want me to remove it or are you okay with it?" And then sometimes they'll say, "Yeah, you're right. Let's take that out." I mean, we try to do a few passes on everything to make sure it's the way we want it to be. I mean, I think sometimes the reality is that you you might go somewhere where you can't go again. And or it just doesn't make sense with your work and your life, or it was somewhere you traveled to. Um, and it comes down to a decision of like you either put this out or you don't. Um, and sometimes that's a hard choice, like because we want to maintain professional quality, of course.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that professionals are actually, I mean, I'm not saying all of them, but like I think the really creative ones understand that. And they also understand that you might include something that's not technically perfect because it has value in other ways. Um, so yeah, I mean, and I think Isotope is amazing. I like, yeah, I use it a lot. I also believe like, mm, you can just get a little too obsessed with the correctional stuff and it starts chewing up more time than I feel is necessary. Um, but it's always good to double check your content or even triple check it. Um, but I've just run, I try not to say anything negative about other people because everyone's got their own processes and I think that's okay. Um, but I do think that sometimes people get, especially with Isotope, it's like, well, I can see it. Look, there's something there. And it's like, yeah, but can you hear it? And I mean, maybe you could hear it if you pitched it massively one way or the other, or if you boosted that area massively. But if you can't hear it, then what's the problem? There's a line on the screen. I mean, uh, there's something there, but it doesn't matter if you can't hear it. So it's just, you know what I mean? It's easy to get into
Yeah.
like this obsessive, like, I must make it perfect kind of thing. Um, I'd rather just go record it again or scrap it if I'm really not happy with it. But I do think some mastering is necessary on everything. And yeah, I mean, it's also, I mean, we've typically like had kind of hotter mastering and maybe even more compressed. It depends on like the library. Um, there's some stuff in, I'm trying to think of, I mean, the use of mastering, like uh, limiters and compressors can be your best friend, but also like just kill your sound completely. So
Yep.
I always advise being a little careful with those. Because it's tempting, like, you get into the, like, I don't know. I mean, it's probably changed a little bit over the years, but just trying to get louder and louder and louder and uh, losing all dynamics and having this really flat sound it's not. I mean, for some stuff, it makes sense, and we've purposely like slammed some things. Um, our Bloody Nightmare library is all horror impacts. I mean, they're really squashed, some of them. Um, and sometimes people will comment on that. Wow, you really hit the limiter really hard on that, and I'm like, yep. That's what I was trying
Yeah.
to do. But yeah, I don't know if I don't think it's a good idea to do that all the time. You want to have
Yeah, yeah.
dynamics, you want to have proper EQ. Um, yeah, I mean, I think dynamics are huge in sound design. So
Yep. That makes sense.
letting certain frequencies shine and have their space, and compression to work as a added tool, but not as like the main thing. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. And speaking of like mixing and mastering, like one of the questions that I always or I get a lot is people just asking me like how do you mix or master your sounds or like your libraries for a project or whatever. Like I feel like that kind of makes sense in a game context. In a
Hmm.
library context, I feel like I don't know. I'd be curious to know like what would your take be on that? Like in terms of like mixing and mastering sounds within a library. Like what do you do first of all to like mix and master your sounds? Like do you apply a certain like processing or is it just balancing? Like what is
Yeah,
that for you?
usually I don't do too heavy of anything really. Like I just get the sound to a point where I feel like it's got good dynamics, good EQ, um, the layers that I want amplified or ducked are where I want them to be. Um, and then I kind of like I don't put like an SPL meter on the master channel to be like, okay, it must be at this. Like I I just kind of get everything sounding to um a decent level and let the sound designers mix from there, because unless if it's for a specific project where they're like you need to have levels at this level, then yes. But for libraries, I think we've always just kind of um tried to leave a little bit of headroom, not unless it's an intentional squash, we try to leave some dynamics and space for the user to do what they want with it. um so yeah, I don't worry about it too much. I don't think I've had anyone comment on our, like, maybe a few people, but like nobody's really complained about that, so I think it's fine. um
Yeah.
and also, like, I mean, if you're ever unsure, I think it's great to take libraries that you really like and compare yours to them. And so, I mean, Boom Library does a great job at mastering. I think we do a pretty good job too. Um, but yeah, load up a library that you like, and then does yours sound like that? Um, if it doesn't, then might have to explore some more plugin chains or tweaking of your output. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, and sometimes you might hit a wall where you're like, I don't know how they did this. I really don't. I don't know why does their sound so much bigger than mine? Um, it usually has to do with compression, with limiting, with what frequencies you have going on at what points in the file. That add, transients. So things like EQ and transient designers, pitch bending, all those things add to dynamics, and they all have to work together, kind of. Um, but yeah, I think those are the things that I would have struggled with too as a beginner, just figuring out how do I get my stuff to be mastered the right way. Um, I don't know if I have many more tips on that, really. I mean,
No, that
I
kind of
love
makes sense though.
yeah, I love Fab Filter stuff. I use a lot. Um, their whole like I have their whole bundle. Transient designers like trying to think. There's like SPL transient designer. There's Baby Audio has a new one. Just trying to think. What is that one called? Uh,
It's a transient designer.
yeah. Transit. Yeah. Check that one out if you haven't seen it. It's pretty cool. Um, so yeah, um, I don't get too picky about that stuff. I just try to get it like sounding like other stuff we've released or other collections that I respect. Um, and going back to the drawing board a little bit if I feel like it's not quite right.
I had questions from people who actually like submitted like sent in questions that
Oh,
they wanted to ask you. So I
yeah,
would like to
sure.
go
I
over
would.
those with you if you have a bit of time. So
Yeah, I have time. We can do it.
okay.
You can always chop out stuff that's too boring.
We'll see. I think it's fine. um, okay, yeah. So right here. So one was from Mr. Panda Bros. He actually sent in three questions. So he said,
Okay.
"How important is it to finding your own style versus being like fast but sounding generic?" And then number two was, well, maybe I don't know if you want to go one at a time or yeah, maybe we'll go
Yeah,
one
let's
at a
do them
time.
one at a time. It's probably easier. My brain struggles already with lack of sleep and past drug
Yeah.
use.
So how important is it to find your own style versus like just being fast and generic? I have a feeling that this would probably be different based on like what kind of work you're doing, but I don't know. I'm curious to know what
Yeah.
you think about this.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think that maybe both of those, I mean, well, I don't know if anyone wants to be generic. So, um, like when you put out a final thing or submit your work, well, here's my generic. I did it fast. But yeah, it reminds me of what was the saying? You can have something cheap, you can have something fast, and you can have something good. Those three things. But you can only pick two. So you can't have all three. You can't have it be good, fast, and cheap. You can have it be fast and cheap. You can have it be good. You know what I mean. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anyways, like I think I don't feel personally that being fast should be a goal. Um, being efficient is good. If you work at a place that requires you to be fast, then I guess that is good. Um, but I think being mindful of what you're creating and connecting with who you are as a creator is the most important aspect of creating. So, uh, I always err on the side of taking time because the hard stuff takes more time. Um, if it was easy to do, anyone would do it. So making it easy or fast are not the goals, in my view. Um, Making it good and challenging um, should be the goals. Uh, and yeah, so I would say definitely dive into who you are as a creator, what makes you special. Because there's something for everyone. There's something special inside of everyone. As far as, this is outside of sound completely, but it relates to this. There's something special every person can offer in if you love making sounds, there's something special you could make. But you've got to figure out what that is for you. And I think that that is really the question to ask yourself. Um, what do you like to do? What do you like to make? And why? And start exploring that part of it more than like, um, yeah, being fast, you know? I think that's probably all I would say about that. Thanks, Panda
Nice.
Bear Man. What
Panda
for the
Bros, Mr. Panda
question?
Bros.
Panda Bros. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Or
Uh,
or however you go.
so number two, when creating SoundMorph libraries, do you generally rely more on good samples or synth work?
For SoundMorph library?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think the source is definitely really important. So yeah, I mean, it's like uh if you want to take a tool out of a toolbox and build something, you want to have a good tool. So you got to good start with something, that's good to work with. Um, I mean, it's a kind of subjective, I guess, but I think that the source is definitely very important. And then the synthesis stuff is like I mean, I think that that's also an area where you can get more personally creative because everybody kind of approaches that stuff differently, and it's just such a huge realm of areas you can go into for how to manipulate, process, and synthesize things. Um, and that's really just experimentation and like understanding synthesis and just spending lots of time with it. Um, so I'd say they're both pretty important. I mean, SoundMorph has leaned, I think, more towards like uh high designed releases, but we've also been trying to offer more like basically we offer the source and the designed in each collection. Um, so we've been trying to do both really, and I enjoy both of it. I mean, going out of the studio and collecting source stuff is really a big part of like living the life of a sound designer. I mean, where you're out of the studio and you're running into people who are like, he's got a gun. Um,
It's a shotgun.
it's a shotgun. Don't shoot me. Um, but like, I mean, because I've done this for so many years now, like when I go out into the field, it's my time to I just get excited about doing something new, being somewhere new, capturing something that I've never captured before, and just enjoying that time. Um, if I'm, with colleagues, it's even more fun usually. Um, but even on my own, it's like it's time for me. So I enjoy that aspect of doing what I do because I get to meet new people, I get to go to new places. Um, and often you run into I mean, almost always you run into something you didn't expect. Um, and that's kind of exciting, especially if it's something that sounds cool. And you make connections with people that have no clue uh about sound. I mean, like no clue as far as like how it's created in movies and games or how it's captured and manipulated and stuff. So people really love to chat it up. And um I'm not always in the mood to chat it up, but sometimes there's been a lot of times where I'm on beaches and I can see somebody coming towards me and they're looking and they're like, and then they're like, "Hey, what is that?" I'm like, "Oh." That's you ruining my recording. Uh, you can be cut out. It's easy. Um, but yeah, they're both important. So yeah.
That's funny. Okay, last question from this guy here said, "What's the weirdest media you've heard your samples pop up in?"
Oh, weirdest. Hentai.
I don't know where you want to go with that, but
Yeah.
maybe what's
I
the
can
coolest?
only imagine. Well, I don't have any scandalous libraries, so I don't know.
What's the most interesting place it's been in? Cool
Interesting.
game, cool movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of cool projects for sure. I mean, like, Skywalker bought our whole collection a while ago for their team. So, and some of those guys have told us that our stuff's in Star Wars. Uh, and then Black Mirror was a series that I really like. I'm into sci-fi stuff and dystopian dark stuff. So, despite my cheery looks, um, yeah. So. Yeah, Black Mirror was a cool one. I mean, all the major video game studios have our stuff. Anything weird though, I wish I could say something that was like would blow your mind, but um, I don't know, maybe someone can tell me.
I don't know. I think Star Wars is pretty cool.
So yeah, no, I mean those are cool ones, but as far as like weirdness goes, or strangeness, uh, Stranger Things, I guess, used some of our stuff. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really like. There's probably our stuff's probably in way more stuff than I even realized, but um yeah, I don't know. I need to go to more like conferences and stuff and connect with. That's something I don't usually do. I mean, I'm usually just plugging away.
Yeah, it's like me. Um, all right, next question. I don't know what this guy's name is. It's just a bunch of letters. I don't even know what they are. They're not from our alphabet. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, how to develop taste for sound design. Should I just watch more video games and play more video games? How do you develop taste for sound design?
Okay. Yeah. Um yeah, critical listening is a huge skill of sound design, and I mean I think that's one of my points that AI doesn't have the same life experience that we have. It only analyzes data. It doesn't live a life. So, um, like our lives are like a series of choice after choice after choice. So when I'm making a choice to design a sound of something, it's based off of all of those previous experiences and choices. Um, Something comes out from that. So what comes out? Well, it's a combination of all of the things that I've ingested into my soul, and then my interpretation of those things, and then my personal creativity, whatever you want to call it, from the cosmos. I don't know. But I connect with that, and I connect with all of those experiences, and then I produce something. So, uh, I would say, based off of my experience, that the more you have watched and played and consumed, the more you have to pull from. But you're doing it not in a brainless, deadless, like entertain me way. You're doing it in a aware, intentional. I'm watching this and I'm listening to this because I want to absorb it for its sound. I want to understand its sound. So it's different than just playing a game or just watching a movie. You're putting on the movie going, I'm going to really, really listen to the sound here. What did they do? What choices did they make? Why is it cool? And then that goes into the bank of your brain, and then it comes out someday in a different way. Um, you know, so that's what I would say.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. I think I have a similar view where it's like the more you can pull from, the more you can make it your own, right? Because you have your own unique experiences and sounds and things that you can pull from that other people don't have, and that's what makes
Right.
yours different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's
that's
your
cool.
personal biological interpretation too, like
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
all your cells inside of you that make you you are making some sort of a decision there. So
yeah, that makes
it's good
sense.
to be connected with that too, because that's you. And yeah, I mean, you're relying on a lot of external content and forces for sure, but there is also the aspect of you. So don't
Yeah,
forget
yeah.
about that.
It's like you're the filter.
Yeah, you're part of it. You're part of the creation process too. So um yeah, I just always try to I just find it very fascinating to pay attention to like what's going inside like what's going on inside of my own mind right now. And then just pausing and going and paying attention to that. And and rather than being focused on like I must create like just mindlessly, more like I desire to create something and I'm going to do that now, but what is it and why? And then that's when I think when you really can pause and like pay attention to that and give it some space to breathe and live, that is when the magic happens for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense because I can definitely relate to that. So that's good. Last question here from Floraphonic. This one, I actually know this guy. So a friend.
Okay.
And the reason I'm saying that is because the question is, why does my antivirus think Wave Warper is malware?
Why does
I
it
don't
think
think he's
what?
upgraded. Why does my antivirus think Wave Warper is malware?
Oh, the first one or the second one?
I'm gonna assume it's because he has not upgraded to the second one, and this is where you plug in your plug
Um,
for Wave Warper 2.
it's because life's unfair. No. Um, I think it's because certain software has digital signatures that you can tell the OS this is safe or the host this is a safe developer. Where and WaveWarper was the first one was created in Max MSP and exported as standalone app. And I don't think that there was some issues with some OSs thinking that it was malware. I mean, that's the easiest explanation I can give you, really. And I
So
think if you
basically, he should
go
upgrade
in a
to
lot, you
Wave
can.
Warper 2.
I think Wave Over 2 doesn't have any issues. No,
Yeah, so he should just upgrade, basically.
definitely should upgrade. That's my answer. Forget all that
There
other
you go.
stuff I said. No, Wave Over. I mean, Wave Over 1 is still cool, I think. We just we re I mean I think people can still get it in their accounts if they bought it originally, but we removed it because it's just one more thing that we have to like support. Um,
Yeah,
so it makes more sense to just remove it. And Wave Warper 2 is I mean I think they're both cool in different ways, honestly, but the second one it's a plugin. So most people desire that more. Um, and yeah, from here on out, we're only making plugins. We're not doing any more of this the standalone stuff. So
cool.
you won't have that problem anymore, friend.
There you go. Sweet. Well, that's all I had here for this. I have one last section,
Sure.
which
Yeah.
is I like to end like these like longer form like conversation, interview, whatever, with like some like rapid fire, like just fun questions. And like
Okay.
if you
Yeah.
want, you can say pass to whatever you want. Like you
So
don't have to
I
answer
will.
them.
I'm ready. I'm ready, Alex. I feel like Alex isn't alive anymore. I was thinking of Jeff.
Okay. Yeah, so it's just for fun, just to finish it off. All right, here we go. First one. What's your favorite sound design plugin?
Ooh, favorite sound design plugin. Hmm. There's so many.
Gotta
Um,
pick one.
you got to pick one. Uh, Man, I'm failing on this rapid fire, huh?
You can pass if you want.
Um, I just started getting into this one called it's from Devious Machines Texture. Go check that
Yeah,
one out.
I
Yeah.
haven't tried that one, but that looks
Yeah.
cool.
It's pretty
You've been
cool.
liking it?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
That's
Spin
cool.
Tracer from Tonestrom. I'm just gonna pump up the competitions plugins. Um, but yeah, I felt like that one was a really great movement. Have you played with that one? Yeah.
Yeah. I have it. I've been playing around with it. They actually reached out to me to like try it out and see if like I could give them feedback. So I gave them quite a bit of feedback. So I'm hoping
Oh,
they implement some of the stuff.
nice.
And they told me they're working on another like a new updated version of it. So I'm hoping to see what they come up with.
Oh,
But yeah,
that's
it's
great.
great.
Yeah, I think that was one of the ones that came out in the last year that I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
Because I've enjoyed playing with it, and it's yeah, definitely very creative with movement and spatialness and panning and all that stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's
yeah,
fun.
that's a good one.
Cool. Okay, number two. What's the strangest thing you've ever recorded that has made it into a library or a project?
Um, I mean, well, I haven't really. I guess maybe it is some of it's in Cinematic World Eyes, that one of the new libraries we put out. I got a bunch of Sanken recordings of my my daughter screaming and crying when she was pretty young. That stuff's great for creature sounds and um and tortured, like when you pitch it down, when you pitch a human baby screaming down, it sounds like a man being tortured. Um, but like this, like when
Interesting.
they're really upset, that's the stuff you want. Um, I wish I had brought my Sanken in when my daughter was my second daughter was just born, because it was very hard on my wife. Um, and it was very intense. She's champion bow down to all mothers. Um, but yeah, those screams that she let out towards the end there, the last like 10 minutes or so, woo,
That
those
would have been
were
good.
great. Man, I wish, because you can't recreate the sound of real human pain. Um, I mean, unless you're in like a unique, you know, job torturing people. Um, which I don't want for anybody. Um, anyways, yeah. My daughter's baby screams, waking up in the middle of the night, like ah, like night terrors and stuff. That stuff sounds great when you pitch it down.
Nice. All right, number three. What's your favorite library that you have published that you're the most proud of?
Hmm. Most proud of. Let me bring up
You
my
have to look through
website.
your list.
Let me bring up SoundMorph here. Um, because off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I really liked making water. Um, I really liked making rainscapes. I mean, I like the high design stuff, but I find like just like when I think of like experiences that I had, um some of the nature ones are more, because I traveled and like went all around and I was with some friends, and um
That's cool.
so it's the whole like experience of making that. And then I'd hear the rain, and I'd be like, "Oh, it's raining," and I would like, you know, go outside. But if it was at my house, it's like, oh, I've already recorded a bunch of stuff here, so I gotta jump in my car and like I have a place in mind that I want to go to record the rain. Um, and so I'm like, furiously driving to that location, hoping that it doesn't stop raining. But yeah, I don't know. That one was I enjoyed making that one. Um, the robotic life form stuff was pretty enjoyable to create. Yeah, I'll end it there. I'll just keep talking forever.
Okay, that's good. Okay, one plugin you would take with you to a deserted island. Just
Deserted
one.
Island plugin. Hmm. Can't make me coffee. Uh, Deserted Island plugin. Hmm. I've been liking I'm just thinking of new plugins right now, because I mean there's some old ones that are great too. I mean, FabFilter stuff is like invaluable. I feel like Pro Q4 is great. Um, but I do like I've been playing with Baby Audio's Transit 2. Um, that one's pretty fun. So you should play with that one.
Cool. I have to check it out. I thought it was more like a music plugin, so I kind of like passed
Yeah,
it by.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah. I
ah,
mean, I think that's
whatever.
kind of what it's
But
meant
it'd be,
for. But I like any stuff that where you can like you have a master knob that can like quickly
yeah,
change things. Um, it's just kind of fun to create with that kind of stuff, I think.
cool. What about same question, but like one piece of like equipment? So like not your computer, not your phone, but like yeah,
Yeah, one piece of equipment. Um, yeah, it would still be the handheld recorder probably or some sort of like microphone. Um, because without that you can't really like you can't make new sounds. So
yep.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Makes sense. What's one sound or one library that you would like to record or create that you've never had the opportunity to?
Hmm. Well, there was a couple. I really wanted to do and this might be something for someone else to take on. Um, but I really liked I love the idea of making sounds that don't exist naturally, right? I mean, that's kind of what we do as sound designers, but um so I had an idea of doing crowd stuff, but with like different kinds of props, like really interesting props. Um, and then like say in like a really quiet um, theater space or something, like a large one. So like a large crowd, and then instructing them what to do. So because I've been in a couple of experiences that were pretty crazy where the whole crowd was involved in like singing something or like something subtle and like it's a pretty powerful and crazy feeling to be with that many people making some sort of sound. Usually in those situations it was with our mouths or like our fingers or something. Um but yeah, a couple experiences of that and I was like, wow, this is so cool. I would love to like do a whole collection of like just that stuff doesn't exist without the crowd doing it. Um so that stuff's interesting to me because you don't know what it's going to be like until you do it. And it doesn't exist out in nature unless you have the intention of like, okay, everybody, let's gather and do this. Um, so yeah, that was an idea, but I just don't know if I don't know if I have the planning and like desire enough to actually do it.
I
And
feel
that would
like
be
it'd be
difficult to pull off because you
yeah,
like
very like
get the space and
administratively.
the people and the props and the
Yeah.
microphone. I mean, this is a big thing, right? So, so somebody please steal this idea and go do it, and you can say, Jason told me this. I don't need
Nice.
credit. I don't care.
Yeah. I
But
feel
yeah,
like that would be
I like
cool,
stuff
but
like
like really
that because
hard.
it's like wonder what will happen, you know? What
Yeah.
would it sound like for everyone to blow into tubes like a thousand people? I don't know, you know? Yeah,
That's funny.
probably sound cool. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, this has been great. Thanks so much for your time. I think the last thing I was gonna ask you or just before we go is like what would be like one piece of advice that you would give to someone just starting out? Like just one thing that you would tell them or that you wish you had known when you were starting that would just help them to maybe not make the same, I don't know if it's mistakes or like avoid certain situations or things that you've gone through or just make it a bit easier for them to get going.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a total easy path. I mean, like just trying to avoid struggles is kind of like we're all gonna die. We're all gonna lose people we love. So, not to get
Yeah.
too deep here, but like things aren't going to work out for us at the end. Um, or maybe they will. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I think I would be maybe more forgiving to myself for not knowing stuff, um, and just seek connection, um, with other like-minded people. Because when you're living in a vacuum, like of your own mind, it can be great. It can be okay. You can still be creative. But I think that something more powerful comes out of mutual creativity. So, um, I mean, I do a lot of stuff on my own, but I think some of the best stuff that we've put out and some of the stuff that I'm the most proud of was stuff that I made with other people. Um, because you're doubling up your experience of knowledge when you connect with just one other person. Um, and my goal is always to make something as good as it can be, and without any ego attached to it. Like it's not about me. It's not about, oh, I need everyone to see how good I am. Um, it's more about like what can we do that's special together, and like if we can make the end result is almost always going to be the best it can be when everyone involved is open-minded, connected to each other, and values what the other person's saying, even if they don't agree. Because that's what whittles it down to something that is better than it would have been on, probably, not always, but I think usually it ends up being better than it would have been with just one person. So, uh, yeah, I mean it's also fun because I think I might have taken things more personally. Like if somebody didn't like something I created, I might have been like upset, or um, they don't think I'm good, or all the voices that might go on inside of your head. And creators are sometimes sensitive people, not always, but sometimes. Um, and I think now I definitely look at it differently. Oh, you didn't like that, huh? Well, tell me why. Because I did. Um, but I value you, and I want to hear why you didn't. And then often, um, we work our way towards something that ends up being a final thing, and that thing is, it's like a whole crew of a movie, right? But um, they can't make that movie by themselves. So I kind of look at the creative process the same way, and I enjoy it. Um, yeah. So that's what I'd say. Connect with other
Sick.
people.
Good. Awesome. Thanks so much. Is there anything else that you want to like sign off with? Plug where like I don't know if you want to say like where people can reach out to you
Oh
or whatever,
yeah,
but
yeah. You can reach out to me at jason@soundmorph.com. Thanks so much for listening. I'm usually looking down, but thank you. I'll look straight at the camera. Thanks for listening. If you made it all the way through this, that's a lot of sound talk, so you must like sound. Um, but yeah, I'm always happy to connect with people. I love hearing what they're using SoundMorph for, or what they might want us to make at SoundMorph. And thanks to you, David, for having me on. I hope we get to talk to each other again soon.
yeah, for sure. Sweet. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, so I hope you found this video useful and valuable, and just kind of seeing and discussing these various topics. If there's somebody else that you would like me to sit down with and just have a conversation with and chat with about sound design and the industry, audio industry, and stuff like that, let me know. Leave it down in the comments below, and I might just reach out to them and get that done. So Just a reminder, if you're looking at buying a SoundMorph library, make sure to use code DAVID at checkout. That's DAVID at checkout to get 20% off your entire order. That's soundmorph.com. So I think that's it for now. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. Make sure to leave any questions down below if you do have any for me or Jason, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.